why I'm not paying off my student loans as an MBA grad making 200K a year. I'll pay them off eventually, but here's why I'm not in a rush to do it. Let's say I took out a 100K loan and that I have 10 years to pay it back at a 6% interest rate. Let's also say that I have 100K sitting in my bank right now that I can use to pay back my loans, if only. The simple thing to do would be to take that 100K and pay off my loans, right? Think again. If I take my 100K to pay off the loan, I'm debt free, but I also now have $0. If I invest my 100K, I'll make 160K in 10 years from compounding returns. Over the same time period, I need to pay back 135K on my loan principal and interest. Let's do the math. 160 minus 135 equals $25,000 that I made from not paying off my student loans immediately. Why?
Oh my goodness, there's so much wrong here. The math is not that simple. The math is not that simple. So one thing that I got to point out, because when I was listening to it, at first I was making the assumption that this woman was saying like, yo, she's not paying back her student loans at all. But I was glad she redeemed herself when she mentioned that, she is not in a rush to pay them back, which is fair. And she also did mention, and this is all theory. Like, why are we putting this out to the world? Because there's going to be somebody that is not going to sit back and listen to it the way that I listen to it and pick up on the cues of her mentioning that she does plan on paying back her student loan. She doesn't have $100,000 in the bank right now. This isn't something that she's doing. She just popped up on the internet to talk about something that doesn't make any sense, and it could potentially be dangerous to other people that watch this video and think, oh, cool, I'm not going to pay my student loans. And I'm just going to do this and be able to get a return. And I'm going to actually make money by not paying my student loans. Cause like, that is how the most basic thinking person is going to walk away from this video. Like, oh, don't pay my student loans. And I'll make money if I don't pay them. Like, really dumb, really dumb. So first and foremost, I just want to be clear. If you make a choice to not pay back your student loans when you're making over $200,000 a year, that is absolutely stupid. But thankfully, that's not the case. It doesn't sound like she's making the choice not to do that. But we got to talk about this idiotic and this illogical math that she's using. And see, I think the biggest mistake that she made, and let me go to that part in the video where she talks about the returns that are going to be made on this cash, right? Because that's the biggest issue. Okay, let's go. Where was it where she was talking about she gonna have a 160 coming in? Where is that part? Right here. She think that she gonna go, and this is the what she talking about, taking the money and putting it in an investment, and over 10 years it's gonna produce a 10% return for her. Like, that's idiotic math, man, and it falls apart the minute you assume that you are going to be able to get a specific return. If returns on investments, especially in stock investing, if it was that predictable, everybody would be doing it. But everybody knows that even though you can, to a certain extent, say that a safe investment is by putting your money in an index fund and you'll be able to get a return on your investment. It doesn't mean that you're going to be able to say you're going to always get 6, you're going to be able to get 8, you're going to be able to get 10, but it's shown over a period of time, which is also the key. Also the key, right? Over a period of time, a long period of time, usually you will be able to see consistent returns. That doesn't mean that you might have some years where, you lose and other years where you're up. See, it balances itself out. It balances itself out over time. So that is an assumption that I'm glad she did at least put that on the screen that, hey, I'm assuming a 10% annual return on the S&P in the last 30 years, right? Okay, so yeah, you basing it on previous data. Again, past data does not predict future performance. Like, if you know anything about investing, you'll recognize that that is a principle of investment. So to put out this information as if this is a winning formula, this is a winning strategy, it's not. And this is the one thing I like her, will say that I agree that I don't think that in every case or in most cases that you should, if you have the amount to pay back a loan in full, that you should do it. Like, there are some situations where you may be in a better position, paying on time. That's the key. You want to make sure that you're paying back, whatever you're owing on that loan. But maybe there may be some other strategies that can put you in a position where you'll be better off than just clearly just sticking with her example, taking 100K and just, flat out paying it all the way off. Like if you're in a good position to do that, then, or if you just don't want to carry any debt, that's cool. My whole thing is, I do agree. And I will say that you don't have to pay it all back when you get it, unless you just want to be completely free. Especially when we're talking about a student loan debt in particular. For me, when it comes to like consumer debt, credit card, I'm more of the, hey, if I can pay this thing off and, kind of get that monkey off your back, go ahead and do it. But even then, even when you may have the cash, and even myself, when I've had cash in the bank, I'm still more so about not just dumping all of that cash out of my savings to clear this debt. Whereas I can make sure that I am paying on whatever is owed plus whatever interest is accruing each month. So that way, the amount that's being due is not increasing by some insane amount every single month. But again, a responsible person recognizes that the real way to handle this is to pay back a portion of the debt while also investing. Like that's the way that I recommend doing it, is do both. Like you should be paying back on that student loan or whatever debt that you have. And then if you have discretionary income, especially if you're in a position like her where you're making 200K a month, 200K a year, then you should definitely be putting some or allocating some percentage of your earnings to investing. So that way you get the best of both worlds. You're able to invest over that 10-year period, and then you're also able to pay back that loan over a period of time as well. So to me, I feel like you don't have to choose one or the other, especially if you're making $200,000 a year. I think that you should be doing both. So choosing not to pay your student loans, one last point before I get to the next video. There's one other thing that she said that I definitely want to point out. Like, you're not making money. I think that is the biggest that is the most foolish thing that she alluded to in this, is that you are somehow making money by deferring paying back your student loans. Like you're not making money. What you're doing is you are generating a return on those investments. But that's not the same thing as you made money by choosing not to pay back your student loan. Like, no, you made money because you made the wise decision to invest a portion of your income into investments. So I think it's important to recognize that. So if you didn't wait 10 years to pay back the loan, then the interest and the fees also are going to be lower. So that's another thing that, her math isn't really going to work out, because she's making this assumption that all of this interest and these fees are accruing. But if you are paying back your debts and your loans in the right way, you're allocating for the interest and the fees along the way if you're doing it responsibly. So that's my thoughts on this clip. Definitely let me know your thoughts. If there was something that I missed in her equation, in her math, definitely let me know about it. But we got one more clip that we're going to dive into. And man, you thought this was wild. Somebody telling you that, you should potentially not pay back your student loans or be in a rush to do it. Like, this next chick is something else. So let's check out this clip.
She got banned from Klarna.
That was a long time ago.
Okay, you're banned from Klarna.
I'm only banned until I pay it off.
Dude, you're banned from Klarna. That's insane.
I found out about the Klarna thing when she got the one wheel, because I asked her if she could just use the financing option the company uses. And she was like, I'm banned from Klarna.
I just can't use it.
Insane. Let me pull her up on the screen. We need her as we talk. This person right here, banned from Klarna. Are we serious? This is the poster child. This face that you see right here on your screen right now, that's the poster child for financial irresponsibility. I didn't even know it was possible for somebody to be banned on Klarna. That means you have developed a habit of financing to buy some of the most simple things, or at the very least, stuff that you can't afford. If you have to finance something, that means you can't afford it. And then to make it even worse, by not paying back the amount of money that you financed or the amount you borrowed. Like, that's legit criminal. Like, this is insane. And I think we got to get back to the basics. The basics is, if you cannot afford it, do not buy it. It's really that simple. Even the guy, like, he was reaching out to her when he's trying to buy some, what did he say? Like a one-wheel cycle, and he's ready to finance it. Why? Why do you need a one-wheel cycle? If you can't even afford to go and buy it, you don't need to finance it. Why are you financing things that are that dumb? That is so stupid, to finance and put yourself into debt over things that you don't need. These are not necessities. Save up your money and buy those things when you can actually afford them. Like that is so dumb to me, but let's be real. Most people, they do not think before they finance or before they borrow money. That is one of the main reasons why we have the debt crisis that we have, especially in the US. And it's insane. It's insane. I think that a lot of people are just doing this, especially when we talk about Klarna, because it's based on convenience. And what it does is it plays into their lack of impulse control. Like they don't have any impulse control. They see something, they want to buy it, and they don't even consider the fact that one, you more than likely don't need it. Two, most importantly, you ain't got the money right now to buy it outright. And when I started to see that, you know, these financing companies like Klarna and other are allowing people to finance stupid stuff like fast food purchases. Oh my gosh. Like I could definitely got to do a video on that. Like people using Klarna and financing for fast food. Like that is absolutely stupid. Like, yo, go on a diet that day, fast that day if you have to get to the point where you got to finance your next meal. That is insane. So those are my thoughts. If you know anybody who else has been banned from Klarna, I'd love to hear about it. If you have an experience when it comes to making impulse purchases or using financing, definitely let me know about it in the comments. I think this is absolutely insane. And yo, it's not the only one. Yo, you got to check out this video. It'll be on the screen somewhere that I recently did about this absolute grown man child, 32 years old, and his mommy is in control of something that she never should be in control of as a grown man. Check that video out, and I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, stay blessed.